Good morning, beautiful people of the Center for Spiritual Living. That's nice. Our theme this whole year is living the science of mind, and each month we take a new focus. Our focus this month is where humanity and divinity meet. Then every week we select a topic from this beautiful book, Living the Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. Like this week's topic comes from page 164, and it is God Talks to the Heart. So here are the 3 points I hope to cover in today's message. Without your love, there's no hope. Not for the world, not for you, not for me. Oh, and by the way, the second point is love may be the only thing that you actually know how to do. So there's that. And then third, if you find you've got to a place where you've forgotten that skill, you've forgotten how to love, it's all right. It's the sort of thing that you can relearn. And we have some specific exercises, for example, by practicing seeing holiness in everybody you meet. We'll get to that in a moment. The first time I encountered our teaching, the name of our teaching is The Science of Mind. I remember the first time I encountered it, I thought to myself, this is all going to be in the head. It's all up here about thinking and intellect. Science of mind. So it's kind of refreshing to turn to page 164 and read this. We must realize that the creative factor in the universe is feeling. Not thinking, feeling. This is not a heartless teaching. It's not about thinking it all through without feeling, without the warmth of our conviction and belief. No, feelings are very important in this teaching, and rightly so, because we humans are feeling creatures, communal. We respond to feeling more than anything else. I remember I attended a seminar once all about how to be a better minister. And I walked into the seminar, and the presenter had written up on a chart on the wall these wonderful words. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I don't remember anything else from the seminar. I had gone there to learn how to be smart and to think better, and because I valued intelligence and quick thinking, but I realized in that one poster I might have been forgetting one of the key ingredients to connecting. Similarly, it is the same with our thoughts. The thoughts that we care about are the ones that are creative. And the way we care about our thoughts is important. And what I mean by that is the feelings that go with our thought are important. Are they loving? Are they warm? Are they excited? Or are they something else? Are they disconnected, disinterested, random? There's a difference. A world of difference. In this book, Living the Science of Mind, our founder, Ernest Holmes, wrote in an earlier chapter, we know that we could not live without love. For life is absolutely meaningless unless its whole motivation is built on love. Now, there's an idea for a world that works for everyone. Build everything on the motivation of love. So thinking of that phrase, I came up with 2 statements that I think are helpful to remember. We cannot live without love. Or if I personalize it, I cannot live without love. Years ago, I read a story about an experiment in a lab that went terribly wrong. Now, I can't remember the source of where I read it, or even if it might be a legend for all I know. I just know that it made such an impact on me that I repeat it every year. That tells me something. It was a pivotal moment for me, just like that writing on the wall. It meant something for me to pay attention to. Here's the story. It's the story of a lab experiment that goes wrong. The experiment was on a group of rabbits. that were supposed to be getting sicker and dying from the experiment, but they weren't. They were getting happier and more lively and energetic than the control group. And the experimenters scratched their head, wondering what possibly could have gone wrong. So after lots of scrutiny, they decided to examine the security camera. It turns out, late at night, the janitor was coming in and taking each bunny out of the cage and loving it up and whispering sweet nothings into its ear. Totally messing up the experiment. Turns out he was apparently giving a healthy boost to the immune system of the bunnies, bolstering them up against whatever had been put into them. And do you know that in June, in our free Wednesday night classes, 1-hour classes at 7 p.m., open to anyone, we're going to be studying that. We're going to study how our own loving thoughts can give us a healthy boost in our own lives. Now, this wonderful story of the bunnies meant so much to me because it reminds me of how important it is to feel like we belong, to feel like we are accepted, to feel loved, and to have the warmth of an affection of touch and community. But that's not all it is. There's more to it, I realize. In the example of the janitor, my role model, in the example, there is the reminder to me that as important as it is to receive love, it is equally important to give it and to express it. And now I'm thinking of expressing love as being life-saving, as it was for the bunnies. So I take the statements, we cannot live without love, and I cannot live without love, and change it a little bit to make it even more intense for me. The world cannot live without my loving it. I cannot live without being loving, after all. And this is the second point of the message today. After all, that's my job. It may be my only job. Love may be the only thing that I truly know how to do. I think that's accurate because everything else takes a lot of effort and causes a tremendous amount of stress, like envy, jealousy, competitiveness, hatred, prejudice, self-centeredness, vanity, bossiness, nastiness. You have to really work at that stuff. You got to be committed to it. You have to stay with it. It takes energy. It takes commitment. It takes mindfulness. But love takes no energy at all. Maybe it's because, like it says in so many of the scriptures of the world, maybe it's because God is love. No, we don't make love. We're not responsible for creating it. No. We just align with what is already so, and then we let it out. We set it free. We let it flow. Oh, that's good. Imagine that's your assignment this week. Your assignment is to let it free, to let it flow, just that. Maybe look for opportunities to let the universe do whatever the universe does, but through you. Imagine that love itself is the urge of the universe and it wants out through you. And all you have to do is play along. Think of yourself as the instrument, and you don't even know what music's going to come out. You just have to play along. When divine love comes through humans into expression in this world, it's very beautiful. And there are so many forms of it. Like affection, the affection of the janitor to the bunnies in the lab. Or kindness, like the stranger responding to the request of the person in the parking lot asking for money. Or caring, like the child struggling to help the parent who's aging. Or like compassion, like the volunteer who goes the extra mile to help the organization that's touching the lives of people he or she will never meet. Oh, when the love of the divine comes through humans into expression in this world, it is very beautiful. And the nice thing about it is it doesn't even have to be perfect. Just genuine. That's the feeling of love. Genuine. It reminded me that I had written about it in my book, Ordinary Goodness. The idea of ordinary goodness came to me while teaching a class in which the students were learning the techniques of spiritual coaching. They questioned their ability to respond adequately to clients who were facing sorrow and tragedy. So I asked them to settle down and think about a difficult time in their lives when someone did something for them that showed love. Some of them, teary-eyed, told stories about ordinary acts of kindness, while others told of gestures of compassion that went way beyond the call of duty. The students either had a story of how loving kindness from another person had touched them, or they identified with the story told by another student. Then I asked them if the giver of that love had any special skills. What was it that made the gift of love so meaningful? They answered that each giver had acted sincerely from some natural instinct to care. I call that instinct ordinary goodness, and I pointed out that they too had the same innate capacity to care, and that their goodness required no special training. In fact, it may be clumsy or unskilled, and yet, when expressed, especially through kindness, it leads to compassion, and that is something mighty to bring into the world. Imagine that. Imagine that your loving is good enough. Not because you're skilled, not because of what you can think up, but because it is genuine, non-controlling, real goodness. And you didn't create it. You released it. You let it go. You set it free. The thing is, society may have forgotten this natural talent for being loving. And the reason for that, well, we'll hear from Dr. Thomas Plant. He is the adjunct clinical professor of psychology at Stanford. This psychiatrist says that the reason why society may have forgotten its natural talent for being loving is that we may have so many models of how not to behave. He says we live in a culture where people are often treated with disdain and disrespect, like on cable TV or on radio talk shows, where yelling and insulting each other and the guests is done for effect and for ratings and for sport. And then reality television shows, they let us peek into a world where people demean each other without remorse. So I have to be careful that I don't let that become normal. I've got to be careful that I don't let children turn reality show stars into role models. And this psychiatrist, Dr. Plant, asks a great question. He says, don't you ever wonder that if this is how people behave toward each other while on national TV, how might they behave when the camera is actually turned off? We hear constant media coverage of our public figures and sports, entertainment, and political people who we often look up to behaving in remarkably poor ways. And the psychiatrist offers a remedy. He has a solution for this situation. You know what it is? Spiritual practice. Yeah. He suggests, the psychiatrist suggests that we practice seeing the divine in everyone we meet. That's his remedy. And if divinity is too strong a word for you, he suggests that we focus on the idea that everybody that we engage with is either the friend, the son, the sister, the brother, the mother, the cousin of somebody you love. And he suggests that thou will change your world. He admits that it's easier to talk about than it is to do. But with mindfulness and with practice, he suggests that we would likely find ourselves living in a different kind of world. I love that. And after reading his article, I found myself saying to myself when things got rough or didn't work out the way I wanted to, or when I was worried about the world, I find myself saying, no matter what, I've still got love. No matter what, I still can love, and I can trust that love to do something in the world that I myself cannot accomplish. Now, if you're doubting whether you can be loving, or maybe you've forgotten that you know how, the good news is that you can relearn it, just like you learn to read and write. Now, unlike love, we haven't always known how to read and write. We had to start from nothing, from scratch, and learn to read and write. And in the beginning, it could take a lot of time, a lot of focus, a lot of repetition, a lot of effort. And if you know how to type, maybe you remember the drills over and over and over again. And you can't learn how to type by reading about it. Oh, well, you can get some clues, but you can't learn how to type by thinking about it now and then. Oh, no, you got to put yourself in it. You got to set aside time for it. You got to have a couple of goals. You got to be motivated for it. And the good news is that with being loving, you are relearning something that your heart already knows how to do. So it goes faster. It goes quicker. It's easier, but you do have to put yourself in it. You do have to make time for it. Maybe even have a couple of goals to motivate you. I can see myself saying something to myself like, today I'm going to compliment 2 people in my family or in my group for their contribution. Or maybe I'll say to myself, today, and I'm going to try stay with this the whole day, I'm going to listen to people without interrupting them to really discover my interest and value in them. Or maybe I could say to myself, this whole week I'm going to communicate with respect, as if whoever I'm talking with has the divine in them. See if I can stay with that. But to do this, have you noticed you got to slow down? Have you noticed that to be loving and attentive, you've got to slow down? It's very difficult to be loving if you're in a hurry. It's very difficult to be loving if you're distracted. It's hard to be loving when your mind is racing. It's not right or wrong. It just shows the importance of slowing down. The mind will speed up for things like anger and envy, comparison and complaining. Try that. Try to notice how fast your mind can move when you're not being loving. And then compare that to how smoothly your mind moves when you are being genuinely loving. There's a difference. I know that if I can stay alert enough to pay attention to the speed of my mind, I see it. When I'm angry, it's racing. When I'm jealous, it's fast. When I'm selfish, speedy. And not only my mind, not only my thoughts are racing, my heart goes faster. My breathing gets more shallow and quicker. Things speed up. I was introduced to this image of the mind being like a car, and it's very helpful because when a car is speeding, you can't turn safely and change direction safely or stop safely. When a car is speeding, it's impossible to look at the countryside. Oh, you got to stay on the destination, focused. When a car is speeding and a cow steps out, oh, there's going to be trouble. I've been that car. You're speeding through life, not seeing others around me, not even aware if I drove over a few of them. You know, rushing from one important thing to another important thing, not noticing any injury. No, I wouldn't call that loving. Efficient, but not loving. It's the same with thoughts, thoughts that are going too fast, especially if they're going so fast that they're tailgating and there's not enough space between one thought or the other for any maneuvering to take place safely. That's when just about anything will come out of a person's mouth. Just about anything. So I know when I'm racing, I got to slow down. I got to bring my mind back to the speed of love, where God speaks to the heart. The Catholic mystic St. Francis de Sales gave some beautiful encouragement in this regard. If the heart wanders or is distracted, bring it back to the point quietly and replace it tenderly in its master's presence. And even if you did nothing during a whole hour, but bring your heart back and place it again in our Lord's presence, though it went away every time you did, your hour would have been very well employed. So beautiful. So let's check in with those 3 points again. Without your love, there is no hope for us. It's all on you. And by the way, it may be the only thing you actually know how to do. But keep in mind, it's not your love. No. It's the urge of the divine to be set free and express itself in life. And if you find yourself in a place where you doubt you know how to love or you've forgotten how to exactly, start where you are by practicing treating people as if divinity lives in them. And to do that, you're going to have to slow down so you can enjoy the ride. I invite you to breathe in and to exhale, letting your eyes close. There is a witness within me who knows the truth and who will not let me enter into falsehood. This inner guide is my love. It is the presence of the living Spirit loving through me and keeps me on the path of life, directs me at all times to that which is right and best. I shall never be without this witness of the Spirit within me. I believe in it, and I accept it as the constant companion of my soul. It is the infinite presence, and I love it. And together we say, and so it is. Once again, a breath in and an exhalation.